So we're here at the Cambridge United training ground in the A2B taxi cab Mercedes Jet class. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Cambridge United first team coach Barry Corr. How you doing, Barry?
Yeah, really well, thanks.
Thanks for joining us, Barry. And so first things first, obviously, you're an excellent player for Cambridge United, and we still miss you out there. I often turn to my friends. I'm a Newmarket Road End supporter, and there's games I still think we could actually do with Barry out there. Do you still miss it?
Oh, I tell bonds every single day. Of course I miss it, yeah, I really do. Nothing better than playing, but I probably wouldn't even get in the team now anyway. Joey and Sam and everything, so I do miss playing, but enjoying the side of it as well.
Yeah. So you've made the sort of seamless transition. Did a little bit at St Neots Town. So is it about sort of developing younger players, and then obviously your niche is as a obviously a former striker. So is it helping develop Joey, Nibs, Sam Smith, improve their finishing and their movement up front?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, as well as lots of other stuff, but there is a focus because of, obviously I was a striker before, so I do a lot of work with the strikers and a lot of finishing things that we attach on to the end of sessions, so that they're always sharp and they feel good in front of goal, and they get a variety of finishes and everything, and try to replicate the types of finishes that they get on a Saturday. So yeah, that's a fairly big part of my role, I guess.
Excellent. So just going back to your time playing, Barry, you had some successful spells at Cambridge. There was a couple of interruptions with sort of re-signs and injury. But how do you look back at your playing time at Cambridge United? When you were on the pitch, you did a terrific job, scored some good goals, and became a firm fans' favourite, and still are to this day.
Yeah. Well, I think the fans have been really, really good with me. I had a great time when I was on the pitch. I probably wasn't on the pitch enough. I'd say the Cambridge supporters probably seen the best of me for the kind of when I first signed for the first 6 months, and after that with the injuries, it was I was kind of glad to get on the pitch any chance I got, but it wasn't often enough. But I really enjoyed representing the club, and really happy to be here now in a coaching role.
Excellent stuff. So you just touched on the injuries. It must have been frustrating for you. How does a player cope with that mentally, when you're not on the grass as much as you'd like to be, and not building up to that Saturday afternoon game? What's the best sort of remedy, and how do you tackle that as a player?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's never, it isn't easy, and it doesn't get easier that with more injuries or anything. It's I guess it's a process. You get injured, you get a bit frustrated at the start, and you're probably a little bit depressed. And then for me, my coping mechanism was just a real focus on getting back fit, and a real focus on the rehab, because you don't just sit at home and wait for it to heal. It tends to be quite long days of rehabilitation and in the gym. So I would just throw myself at that, and be really disciplined and committed to that. And I guess that's the only way you can do it, really.
Yeah, sure, for sure. So, looking at your role now, you're working alongside obviously Mark Bonner, doing a terrific job in charge. You've got Gary Waddock and yourself. So it's kind of a nice blend, and it seems to work. So you've probably all got your different roles, and sit down, I'm sure, have your meetings and put your points across on what works and what doesn't. But it seems like a little bit of a unique trio that certainly works for the better.
Yeah, well, I think like you said, there's a blend, there's a good diversity in it, Bonds is really, really good, no question, and the results and in his time here has shown that. And Gary has so much experience, and obviously as a player, a top end player, a manager and coach. So I'm really lucky to get to work here and get to work with them two guys and learn from. So and hopefully I add value as well. And when we are a good group, because there's lots of experiences and lots of different types of experiences and different perspectives as well.
Excellent, yeah. And out of the three of you, if there is someone that's sort of a flea in the fourth officials here, it always seems to be yourself. So, which is always actually quite nice to see as a supporter, that things aren't being let go. I spoke to Joey earlier, and he often gets sort of bit of treatment and manhandled a little bit, so it's always good to remind the officials that hang on a minute, this isn't quite right. So we do often see you on the side there, and making sure you're looking after our boys.
Yeah, well, that's it. I guess I don't think passionate's the right word, because that would almost say that Bonds isn't, because he's just as passionate as well, he's just in a different way. He really needs to focus on the game, and that's so important for him, and I think he'd be wasting his time if he gets too caught up with the fourth official. But sometimes I feel opposition coaches maybe target the fourth official and try to get in his ear, and contrary to what people might think, I don't think I instigate it a lot. Sometimes it's in reaction to the other coaching staffs getting into the fourth, and I don't want to. I don't want the referees to get influenced by them, so then I'll chuck in and say my piece, and then seem like I'm constantly arguing about Joey, because he does get difficult treatment for sure. Constantly arguing and telling them not sure what the referee sees when it's Joey, but I guess it's just it's making sure that the opposition bench don't really influence him so much, and certainly to look after the boys on the pitch, I guess.
Absolutely. So great stuff there, Barry. And obviously, you say you've made the transition into coaching. Is management maybe something you'd perhaps think about? You're learning your trade now, but think about later on down the line, possibly.
Yeah, to be fair, it's definitely something that I know that I want to do. But again, it's lots of there's a process to everything, and there's still lots of learning for me to do. So I'm in a really good position at the moment, at a really, really good club, and I'm learning loads. So I definitely want to go into management, somewhere down the future.
Excellent. Yeah, it'd be great to see Barry, and who knows, you could be in the hot seat one day at the Abbey. But wish you all the best in your endeavours with management and coaching, and great to still have you part of the furniture here at Cambridge United. That's great. So just finish off with a couple of questions. Who was the best player that you played with in your career? Probably a tricky one, but who was the best player that you played with?
Oh, that is a good question. Well, I'll throw back. I'll go. I say played with, but when I was at Leeds, I went in and Rio Ferdinand, I trained with him a few times, and he was like a cut above, proper exceptional. To make it Cambridge United, probably Luke Berry when I was playing. It's probably the best one I trained with. And then the best one I worked with as coach. Actually, I don't want to name one, because then some of them might get jealous in there.
Yeah. No, that's fair shout. Bez was a terrific player for Cambridge, and so Rio sort of speaks for himself. So, but just to finish off, we've got a good group of forwards here at Cambridge United, the likes of Nibsy, Sam Smith, Joey, Saiku, to name a few. So, I suppose it's just about sort of nurturing them and keeping them on their toes and progressing them, as your role going forwards, and seeing if they can get a good goal return.
Yeah, well, that's it. We've been, to be fair, since in the last few seasons, we've always had a striker that scored plenty of goals. And like you said, I think we have really good options up at the top end of the pitch, and whether that's goal scorers, and the goal scorers will probably likely be Joe and Sam and Nibsy, with others chipping in. But then they get service from Shiloh, from Brofs, from Jack Lancaster. There's lots of players in behind that we have, I think, really, really strong attacking players and real speed in our attack. So it's certainly promising. I'm quite excited by the attacking players we have. So it fares well, and it's great to work with them because they're all good lads. And hopefully they'll score plenty this season.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for your time, Barry Corr. It's been a pleasure, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers. No worries. All right.